money. It's like you did a lot of work and now you want to save up your money so that sometime in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, you'll be able to afford to live. So you're storing economic energy. You could think of money as economic energy, just like you could think of fat as organic energy. You eat a lot, you store fat, and now if you have to go without food for 2, 3, 4 weeks, you're not going to starve to death. If you can't form fat cells, you're type 1 diabetic. A type 1 diabetic can't store organic energy, and they dwindle and they will starve to death. It's a
Blue Chip Crypto 3. Now, I wanted to present this to you guys. This is an audio reaction video. I wanted to present it to you guys. This is Michael Saylor. I give credit when credit's due. He's on another person's platform talking about Bitcoin and explaining it to people, right? I think the more that we educate ourselves on it is the better that it will be. Also, on the next snippet, I have Charles Hoskinson, one of the founders of ADA, and he's going to explain stablecoin and the Wyoming stablecoin. So I'm just giving you guys the recent updates. Hope you guys enjoy this reaction video. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, hit the notifications, and smash that like button. Let's go.
It's just horrific disease. Being able to store fat isn't a bad thing. We think it's a bad thing, but actually for most of human history, right, the number one reason you died is you starved to death. So it seems pretty intelligent that when you get excess energy, you can store it and hold it for a while. Now let's imagine a person as an economic diabetic. Where do you see that? In a society where the currency is collapsing and hyperinflation, the Weimar Republic, famous example. So you work, I pay, in Zimbabwe, they had it. In Venezuela, they had it. In Nigeria, they're getting it right now. You work, I give you $100, and the $100 buys you 4 meals, but then in 3 months, it buys you 1 meal. And then in 12 months, it buys you 1 soda. And in 24 months, it buys you nothing. Okay. So now you've got a problem. You can't store economic energy. So what happens?
That is a great analogy, and that's why I like Bitcoin itself. That's why I like cryptocurrency itself, especially Bitcoin too, because it's a way to get rich and stay rich. Let me repeat, it is a way to get rich and stay rich because based on the nuances and the matrix of the financial sector, you have taxes, you have different things that take away from your actual monetary value. Your monetary bag or your monetary, basically it takes away from your savings. It takes away from you actually making money. Just taxes itself, fees, the fact that the dollar itself is depreciating. So these things, the same money you had 10 years ago, right, is not going to be equivalent to the next 10 years. It's actually going to decrease dramatically. You might even ending up back to where you started. That's just how the money cycle goes. That's why you have to keep on making money and storing money in a way that it actually grows, and or even if it stays still, that's actually better than it actually depleting. Just breaking what he said down to a third grade level. Let's go.
Happens when the currency dies or the money dies? Well, the society gets ripped back to Stone Age barter. What it means is you can't save anything. And also it means that the unit of account breaks down, so you can't trade. It's like, okay, you have bullets and I have soap. How many bars of soap for bullets? And how do you figure that out? Give me a chicken and I'll give you, a bottle of water. Mm-hmm. Things get very complicated. The civilization just gets ripped back to Stone Age barter. When that happens, all the factories break down. Like imagine trying to trade with your friend for dentistry work. Or you just be your own dentist. Try that one. Be your own doctor. Take out your appendix. So the money breaks down. The civilization breaks down. That's the danger. But normally in most modern societies, the money doesn't break down as a medium of exchange. It breaks down as a store of value. So that means that, you can store money for 12 to 36 months or maybe up to 10 years in the dollar. You can't store it for a lifetime. So if you have,
And that's where Bitcoin come in. That's where the actual solution comes in. You can store Bitcoin for a lifetime because we know that these computers aren't going anywhere. So it's actually better, not financial advice, to actually store your saving in actual Bitcoin and or some form of cryptocurrency that actually doesn't lose value over X amount of time. Because time erodes everything except for Bitcoin. Let me repeat. Time erodes everything except for Bitcoin. God's money. Let's go.
some money, you can't just store the money. If you want to keep your economic energy, you have to gamble it or invest it. You have to speculate with it, or you worked your entire life, you have a certain amount of retirement, and now if you store it in the bank, it'll be worth nothing. So you have to go and invest it in the stock market. But if you pick wrong, you lose it. So we basically force people to be gamblers, speculators, or hedge fund managers if the money's broken, and the money is broken. So what is the significance of Bitcoin? Well, let me say it a different way. You just take your money, take everything you earn, you buy Bitcoin, and you wait, and it goes up 20 to 40% a year forever. Or you take your money and you invest it in a bank account and you get 3% after tax, and everything goes up 10 to 15% a year in price, and you just get poorer and poorer. Or what are you going to do? Buy GameStop at the right time? Are you buy a building, run an Airbnb? I force you to go, and forcing you to be a hedge fund manager is horrifically inefficient for the society. It's just as inefficient as saying, okay, be your own dentist and doctor, right? If the medical system was broken, you have to be your own doctor. It's not good for society. What happens? People die 20 years early is what happens. So when you have to be your own banker or be your own hedge fund manager, what happens is you just get poor, or you lose faith in the future. If I told you your money was going to be worthless in 36 months, what would you do with it? You would spend it. What if I told you your money's going to be worthless next Monday? You would go out this weekend, make it decadence weekend, and you would just blow it all. You would buy anything. Things you don't need. It's like, if it's for sale, I'm just buying it. So Bitcoin actually solves the problem by saying, well, what if you just had a money that the government couldn't debase, the bank couldn't steal, that would last forever? Okay, it profoundly changes incentives, because now a corporation, instead of buying back its stock,
Bitcoin is actually the solution. Bitcoin is the solution for the money problem that we have today. Bitcoin is the solution, and repeat, for the money problems that we actually encounter today. From your money eroding, from your bank holding your money, investing it into stock markets, from you gambling your money away, from you keeping it in your 401k or your retirement fund and wonder why that money will never be enough, because you're going against forces, right? That's taking away from your dollar each and every day. It's too high risk to have simply just money. But yet the narrative is Bitcoin is a high risk. But yet the companies are putting it on their balance sheet. So I'm here to tell you the real news and the blue chip crypto news. And the news is this. In order for you to have a prominent life, for your kids to have a head start, you need cryptocurrency. You need Bitcoin. Let me repeat. You need the digital money. You need Bitcoin. And there's a couple of others that you could say that's needed as well, that allows Bitcoin to be Bitcoin. So it's actually embedded inside of the Bitcoin technology, like a couple of bridges and XYZ. But you would need it. You literally will need it if you want to go against, or let's just say you want to hedge against the US dollar. To me, it's the perfect hedge. Let me repeat. To me, it's the perfect hedge. Going up 29, 40%. annually, it beats 10% deflation. It beats the money getting devalued. It beats the risk factor. And now they have technologies that allow you to save your Bitcoin outside of the third party that you can actually have on your ledger, which means that you are the bank. And therefore, you can bank on yourself. It's a great time to be alive. Michael Saylor did an absolutely wonderful job of explaining this. Because the more and more I listen to it, is the more and more I find out that you need Bitcoin more and more. And the more you have, the better. The more you have, the better. I will much rather, not financial advice, much rather have my savings, have my rainy day money, not in a dollar, but in Bitcoin. Because it only makes sense to me.
Or instead of dividending out its cash flows, would just keep the money. And the money would go up in value 20, 30% a year. So that's what MicroStrategy did. Like, what's our secret, right? We're just holding the money and it's an appreciating asset. Let me try to make one more analogy that might help. It's like you're an athlete, your blood is carrying oxygen. Oxygen is energy. If you're an athlete, you need the oxygen to circulate and you need the blood. So before your race, I show up and I say, well, conventional wisdom is I need to bleed you now. So I take a bunch of your blood and now you run the race. And then next week before the game, I show up and I bleed you again. And what if I just bleed you every week? What if I bleed you every day? Are you as good an athlete? If you're not sure about this, try this experiment. But I think any athlete will tell you, no, the goal is to have as many red blood cells and as much oxygen in your bloodstream when you compete, not to bleed the blood out of your system. So when the government is telling you you should use a currency, the currency is the blood of your corporation or your family or your civilization. When I'm inflating the currency, I'm bleeding the civilization. And in the extreme, if you do this thought experiment, if I just double the currency supply in a banana republic and your company had whatever, $1 million worth of currency, but I double it and now it only buys half as much, and I double it again and it buys half as much again. You see it's,
yeah.
Now take it back to MicroStrategy. In 2020, we had 2,000 people working as hard as they could work to generate $75 million a year in cash flow. And then we had $500 million of actual assets. And then the government was increasing the currency supply by 20% a year. At 15% a year, if they increase the currency supply at 15% a year, then you're losing $75 million of capital value of wealth every year for the 75 million you're winning. So at the 15% inflation rate of the money supply, 2,000 people are working as hard as they can, doing 100,000 things right for an entire year to stand still. And if I crank the inflation rate up to 30%, I tilt the playing field such that you're running as hard as you can and you're falling backwards. So another way to say it is everything you do is worthless.
Basically. So to me, you must get out the US dollar. You must get out all the dollars in the world. You must go into cryptocurrency, because, especially Bitcoin, because it's actually making you money in your sleep, and it's going against them printing out more money, which then cause inflation, which then cause prices to go up, which then cause the money supply to go up. So no matter how much money you make, you don't control the rate. Let me repeat. It don't matter how much money you make. You can make millions. You make hundreds of billions of dollars. You can make trillions of dollars, right? You don't control the rate. The rate is being printed. The rate can go up. It can go down. The rate isn't steady. The rate is out of your control. So with Bitcoin, it's something that you actually literally have in your control. It's for you to control. Let me repeat. It is for you to control. And once you're in control of your money, you become richer. I'm talking total control. You become richer over a period of time. Let me repeat. You will become richer over a period of time owning Bitcoin than you would have versus you owning the same amount of value in dollars in some type of monetary um, system, pound, yen, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to hold it in. If it's not in Bitcoin, what's the point? You're literally setting yourself up for failure and or to go against the forces that you cannot control. That's actually controlled by the government. So Bitcoin actually allows you to be your own government. In other words, Bitcoin actually allows you to become your own government. It allows you to become your own bank. It allows you to become free, free from the system. Now I see that's why they call it God's money. It all starting to make sense now, isn't it? Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification. Blue Chip Crypto 3.
Your time is worthless. Your life is worthless. You're failing, right? And then one more analogy. I put you in a rowboat and you row 7 miles an hour and the wind starts blowing the opposite direction, or the current is blowing the opposite direction, and you're actually rowing as hard as you can and you're not moving at all. And then the current picks up and you're rowing as hard as you can and you're going backwards. But there's this point where you're rowing 7 miles an hour and the current's 7 miles an hour, and then you're in the middle of the Atlantic and you horrifically realize you're going to die because you're not getting across, right? You're not going to make it. And so what do? You reach down, you pull up the sail. You can't row. You can't row against current. You put up the sail, you catch the wind and let the wind blow you. You're going to have to change the way you do work. In an inflationary currency, right, you probably can't outwork inflation no matter how hard you work. Unless you can grow your revenues. If you ask your boss for a raise 20% a year and you get it every single year, then yeah, maybe you can outrun inflation, but most people won't be able to do that.
But you know what? While we're on the topic, you have to ask yourself, what's the future going to hold for businesses? Because if you ask 9 different experts, you're going to get 10 different answers. Bull market, bear market, rates will fall, rates are going to rise a little bit. It'll be really helpful to have a crystal ball.
I think if you have a business, and the best thing to do is actually attach Bitcoin to your balance sheet, and your business will be in profit for the rest of eternity. I just gave you guys a hack. If you have a business, why isn't Bitcoin on your balance sheet? Which means that your business is unbalanced. I don't care if you have trillions of dollars. I don't care if you beat inflation rate by 20% or better. I don't care, because eventually, like Michael Saylor said, right? Eventually, you will understand that inflation will be kryptonite to the monetary system. Not to God's money, but to the monetary system. Think about that for a second. Let that sink in. Really think about that for a second. Let's go.
But until that happens, over 40,000 businesses have already future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one fluid platform. So basically, with just one unified business.
Okay, let's go on to the next slide. Drop a 1 down in the chat if you're feeling good. Drop a 2 down in the chat if you actually learned something. Drop a 3 down in the chat if you're going to invest into Bitcoin and make sure that you hold 10 times more Bitcoin than you do whatever currency, wherever that you're at, monetary money system, wherever you're at in the world. Would you rather own something that you can either spend or gain tremendous amount of gains that beat inflation rates, right? By 2x, damn near by 2x on average, right? Which side of the table would you rather be on? Or should I say, which side of the coin would you rather be on? Now, let's switch it up and let's go to Cardano. Because Cardano, they're actually integrating with Bitcoin as well. So it's going to make Bitcoin 10 times better. And we like those form of technology. So I believe in investing in solutions. I literally believe investing in solutions. So here we go.
You talk a little bit about something that's an ongoing concern that's both rather surprising and a bit disturbing. So as many of you know, almost 2 years ago, the Wyoming legislature passed yet another crypto law that initially had a great degree of optimism and enthusiasm, which was for the state of Wyoming to issue a stable coin. Almost immediately after this proof of concept bill was pushed forward, many people in the Wyoming government and outside of the government reached out to input-output to ask our advice and suggestion of how we wanted to work with the government and others could work with the government to build this cryptocurrency, this asset-backed stablecoin. So there was a lot of discussion about who would be on the commission and also some ideas about a subcommittee structure that existed. After meeting with people in the government of Wyoming, we decided to serve on the subcommittee and provided a great degree of advice over almost a year and a half, many, many meetings about things that would need to be done for such a project to be successful and the ecosystem required for an asset-backed stablecoin to be successful, including issuance and redemption, compliance, technological standards, as well as how one can compete against things like Circle and Tether. Initially, it was a very exciting time, and many people in and outside the government of Wyoming believed that this could provide quite a bit of a revenue stream for the state, as well as allow the state to build out the ecosystem in many blockchain ecosystems. So they decided to hire an executive director by statute. This executive director came from the Ethereum ecosystem, with, I guess, some background in Polygon, and from the very beginning made statements that the coin should be issued first in the Ethereum ecosystem, which was directly against the intent of the authors of the bill, who wanted the Wyoming-based stablecoin to be multi-chain. And I was assured numerous times in private conversations and public conversations such a thing would happen. We advocated very strongly for the functional and non-functional requirements to be published by the commission so that people who wanted to qualify for the RFP could build prototypes to demonstrate.
I agree with him on that one. Why totally just built it on Ethereum? It needed to be built on different chains so different chains could be interoperable and you can connect differently. See, Ethereum is cool. It's good, right? But it's not the best coin out there. It's not the best. Let's stop saying coin. It's not the best tech because it is technology at the end of the day. We just say that it's coins, but there's different algorithms that make each thing unique. So as far as technology goes, right? I believe that multi-chain is actually a better technology than actual Ethereum, because Ethereum, building it on Ethereum, you still need other technologies like Polygon, like different solutions that make it faster, that make it move faster, that the gas fees, which means the price that you're paying for something, right? You're basically your tax, right? Other programs make it better for Ethereum. Let me repeat. Other programs, other algorithms, like ADA, for example, make it better for Ethereum. It makes it better for Bitcoin. So I'm in all agreement with Charles on this one. I'm in all agreement with Charles because he understands the bigger picture. Why build it on something that may not be the best thing to build it on? And then why not keep it open source so people could actually build on top of that instead of you just keeping it on one chain?
That their ecosystems could support those functional and non-functional product requirements. Initially, this appeared to be the direction that the commission was pushing, and then suddenly the executive director and commission decided to create their own criteria and act as judge, jury, and executioner. In a very short period of time, through a pre-qualification process, decided to score blockchains themselves. I guess they had the time to look at 30,000 plus blockchains and ecosystems and make arbitrary decisions about what those systems can do, asserting that they're experts in each of these blockchain ecosystems, including Cardano. There was no opportunity for public comment. There was no opportunity for appeals rebuttal. After picking a short list, Cardano was excluded, saying that we didn't have certain capabilities, which we actually do, although we were never told that these capabilities would be necessary, so we had no opportunity to prepare a prototype. This has put the commission in a place where it's given an unfair competitive advantage to other ecosystems, and the government of Wyoming has gotten in the business of picking winners and losers. This is directly against.
And that's the problem right there. When you allow government to get involved with something, things like these happen. They're going to pick out, oh, it don't have to work, but that's my friend up the street. No, people are sick and tired of that. We want what actually works. We want what's actually best for the people. And I think Charles Hoskinson, most of his ideas actually benefit not just him, but people. So why didn't they select ADA? Because it would then expose them. They won't make as much money. You get it? When we're trying to create technologies that actually improve the whole system, which will make them go out of business. So I see it from both sides, but do I respect their side? No. I like how Charles Hoskinson is thinking. I like how Michael Saylor is thinking. And these are the instruments that's actually going against the government as well, because then you become your own government.
It's good faith in the state procurement. And this is also something that was never the intent of the people who authored the bill in the first place. I think it's both illegal and unconstitutional against the state constitution and the good faith of the laws of the state. And also, I think it's a black eye on how this entire process was historically conducted and the good faith that so many people who invested so much time put into this process. You see, it's not just Cardano that was excluded. 29,900 plus blockchains were also excluded in this pre-qualification process, and no one in our ecosystem was given a fair chance to actually demonstrate that they could satisfy whatever functional or non-functional requirements the state of Wyoming cared for this project. So moving forward, there are many options, and we at IOG will pursue options at our discretion. Also, the state of Wyoming, I know several lawmakers are deeply disgruntled and disturbed by this behavior, and there are open questions of whether this entire project should be repealed or defunded as a direct consequence of the misconduct of these actions. So we'll see what happens, and we will see how this process moves forward. But it's pretty sad to have spent a year and a half, attended hundreds of meetings, sub-meetings, produced hundreds of documents, and to be told that we didn't even have the right to bid on an RFP.
What?
That's pretty sad. We had a dedicated team that we built up specifically to do not only a deployment of an asset-backed stablecoin issued by the state of Wyoming on Cardano, but also working with Maestro and the Bitcoin OS, one of the first asset-backed stablecoins to launch so that Bitcoin users could use it with Bitcoin DeFi. I guess the state of Wyoming doesn't consider Bitcoin a large ecosystem or a worthwhile ecosystem according to their own selection criteria, or one that could use a stable coin for its DeFi layer. I guess other ecosystems are more important according to this path forward. So I'm not going to say any more on this because it's an ongoing concern and may involve litigation as a worst case scenario. But there are many people in the Cardano ecosystem who are asking about this, and I'm as blindsided as you were. I fully expected that many chains would have an opportunity to participate, whether they be Holochain or they be Algorand or Tezos or Dash, whatever, to demonstrate that they satisfy the functional and non-functional requirements, and then bid on an RFP to actually build and deploy the Wyoming-based stablecoin on their chains. And this gave me great hope that this could be an effective competitor to Tether and Circle and push back on how they've been sculpting the markets and pushing them in a particular direction. Instead, it seems to have been captured by the exact same group of people that the bill was trying to get away from. And by its design and structure, it's highly unlikely that any Wyoming businesses will be involved in the construction of this stable coin, or any Wyoming financial institutions, for that matter, will be involved in the issuance and redemption process. Probably it's going to go now to California, and probably it's going to go now to New York. If it was the intention of the Wyoming legislature to pass a bill where jobs would be taken from Wyoming and given to California and New York, and if it's the intention of the legislature for government to compete with private industry and for the state of Wyoming to give an unfair advantage to certain blockchains and hire people who think that that's an okay process to operate in an opaque way, well, then there you have it. I'd like to believe from my time living in Wyoming and working with lawmakers there and getting 31 laws passed in the cryptocurrency industry that their intention is actually the exact opposite. Through all my interactions with the people in the government of Wyoming, I've found very honest, trustworthy, and transparent people who really do want to see the cryptocurrency and blockchain industry in the state grow. I've also seen people with enough integrity to want to build an ecosystem that is diverse and neutral. They say, come and create some jobs and work with our institutions, whether it be the government itself or the University of Wyoming or the people of Wyoming, and bring innovation. And we don't particularly care if you're from Bitcoin or Ethereum or Cardano or SWI or Aptos. This is the first time in the history of the state where an agent of the state made an arbitrary and capricious decision to exclude people from participating and give no one an opportunity to really prove that they were worthy of participation. And we, as evidenced by the fact we're not even allowed to bid on the RFP.
What?
And again, that's a pretty sad thing. So moving forward, we'll consider all options. We'll certainly talk to a lot of people.
And this is why government regulations, when they intervene with innovation, that's the problem. Most of the problems that we have in the world could have been solved, but the government keep intervening with innovation. They keep intervening with creativity. They keep intervening with inventions. They just have to have the say so as far as that's what regulations are. Even if you have the greatest idea, it will be regulated. And it's time for a change. Smash that like button if you agree with that. It is time for a change. Let's finish this off strong.
People, elections are always cyclic, and we will remember these things where and when they come up. And we will somehow, as a state, recover from this. And all the people who were excluded, we'll see if we can find a way to get them included. Or perhaps this entire enterprise should have never happened in the beginning, because this is the first time the state made a decision to step into the business of building things within our industry. And apparently this commission has decided to pick winners and losers in that process. Living in Wyoming, in Wheatland, and having a clinic in Gillette, and having invested hundreds of millions of dollars into infrastructure in the state and creating hundreds of jobs in the state, I'd like to believe that those investments were wise and that we will be treated fairly and rule of law prevails. I'd like to believe there's still enough people in the government of Wyoming and lawmakers in Wyoming who feel the same way. And when these things occur, we'll step up and speak up. When these things occur, to say, no, this is not how we do business in Wyoming, especially after people participated for almost a year and a half in the process and were assured every step of the way that they'd be given fair consideration. Let me be clear. When an unelected bureaucrat makes an arbitrary and capricious decision of who's allowed to even bid, that's not fair consideration. There wasn't an open RFP where we bid and lost. We were not even allowed to participate. We were told what Cardano can and can't do and given no time or opportunity to prove otherwise. That's not how government procurement ought to work, should work, and frankly speaking, that's never been the case in the history of Wyoming. And so moving forward, we're just going to explore what we can do. So again, this is the last time I'll talk about it. This is the last time I will publicly make a statement about this through this channel. And moving forward, we're going to deal with it through the process that the state has already established.
I appreciate that update, Hoskinson. I really appreciate that update because we need these type of updates. They're allowing you to create, but then they're actually stunning your growth on the creation that you're actually doing. So we need to actually deregulate all the regulators. We need to deregulate all the regulators because it's in the way of innovation. On that note, smash that like button, tell a friend and tell a friend. This is the beginning. This is not the end. Blue Chip Crypto is here to stay. Blue Chip Crypto 3 is here to stay. ADA is definitely a blue chip crypto. Bitcoin itself is also a blue chip crypto as well. So peace, blessings, and love.